I pronounce this level title Gloucester. If that's wrong, I don't care. This is the final tutorial level. It doesn't tell you much about the game, but it does show you 90-degree crossings, so that's cool, I guess. There's not a whole lot to talk about with this level. I guess the quote-unquote narrow gauge is kind of interesting, but it's not really important. Sure, it's its own separate route, but the fact that it has NG at the start of every train that runs on it, and that doesn't matter. The big thing to talk about, I guess, is the crossings themselves. The reason is because this level was slightly delayed. You see, I've mentioned the giveaway before. Back when this game was getting ready for a Steam release, we had this big giveaway where you played through levels that we incrementally added to the game. Once you'd beaten them all, you would have a shot at getting a free Steam key. Most of the levels that were built for the giveaway were also built as these early tutorial levels, and Gloucester is no exception. It was actually supposed to be released before Gateway, and it was supposed to be easier than Gateway. However, there was a massive bug that held this level back from release. It needed to be fixed. If two trains were crossing the same crossing, they would not crash. We discovered this bug while I was upgrading the level Pleasant Street from its old, dilapidated form into a much visually nicer version. At the time, the major crossing had all manual signals, and so while testing, we were able to send two trains through the crossing at the same time. Not intentionally, it was completely by accident, but when that happened, they just didn't collide for some reason. Now, while I am the lead level designer and I know a ton about this game, this is one that I don't know the actual reason for why it happened. However, I do have my suspicions. I believe it didn't work because the game didn't check for the hitboxes for a train unless those two trains were on the same section of track. Because these crossings can only be created because these two separate sections of track are, well, separate, the game never checked to see if the hitboxes were colliding or not. In fact, there weren't even hitboxes to begin with. They just checked if they were visually in the same location. This bug was pretty straightforward to fix. An actual hitbox was added in that didn't check whether or not they were on the same track, and just checked if they were in the same general area. Gloucester was able to be released around a week later than intended. However, hilariously, this fix caused problems for the next level in this video, Marradon. We'll talk about that when we actually get to that level, though. For now, I'd like to take a small detour to one of the levels that was broken and had to be held back for the giveaway that never actually made it into the game. The level went by the name of Bakewell, if my memory serves me right, and it was a level trying to introduce the coachyard. However, the coachyard had one major problem that wasn't fixed for so long that the level just was scrapped. Instead of just being a location where you could spawn trains, you had to get a train to spawn from a border station and then enter the coachyard, and then you would have a limited supply of cars and locomotives that you could send out on future trains. The big problem with this was Bakewell needed the coachyard from the start of the level so it could spawn in trains at a terminus station. Initially, this was achieved with a simple border station that was close to the terminus station, and that worked out okay. However, when the opportunity to transform it into a coachyard tutorial was presented, well, we tried, and we failed. It just didn't work. We really needed the ability to spawn in trains at that terminus station. However, Bakewell was also scrapped due to its awkward track arrangement and train schedules. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it was overly limited and the trains didn't really stand out. I believe I still have the level file for Bakewell somewhere on one of my old computers, but at this rate, it just sucked, and it's not coming back. It's still an interesting piece of history about this game, though. you know? Anyways, Marradon! This is the first stage where things really stopped being focused on tutorials and started being focused on interesting, fun gameplay. It's also the first of many levels where you can really get to see how much I like single-track maps. Even so, immediately everything feels more alive. The station placement feels less rigid and more freeform. The loop and multiple tunnels obviously catch your attention. It doesn't feel visually quite as linear as the other maps have been. Overall, this isn't really a step up in difficulty, but it's a step up in design. And while from this point onwards, the maps are going to get harder and harder, they're also going to get more visually distinct. The quality of these levels is going to seriously improve, at least for the most part. We'll talk about the ones that I personally dislike when we get to them. That's a story for another time, you know? For now, I mentioned that in Gloucester, the fix for the problem with the crossings caused a bug in Marradon. What was that bug? You see, the hitboxes were made so large that when a train was going through one of the two tunnels that leads up to the loop, and another train was going on the track above it, the two train hitboxes were so large that they would intersect. This level was kind of practically impossible because of this. It was very frustrating to play. It just so happens that two trains go through that area at approximately the right time to cause that crash to happen. That actually happened already in the video. In case you missed it, the two trains were P68 and P42. Once that bug was fixed, we found a new one, though. If the train was long enough that the last car would be entering the tunnel while the first car was leaving it, for some reason an extra car just spawned in the middle of the tunnel. Here in Marradon, that's a problem because the middle of the tunnel is right where the tracks are, right where the other train is passing over. And so, this additional car's hitboxes caused more crashes. The car wasn't actually there, but the game acted like it was. And so once the initial bug was fixed, P68 still crashed because of this new problem. This bug was, of course, fixed before the level was released, and we had no issues with it. At least, no public issues. Obviously, we had a lot of trouble behind the scenes with it, but that's about all there is to say about these levels. Yeah, I know these videos are getting kinda short, I'm sorry, but some of the most interesting stuff really just takes place in the first few levels. Don't worry though, next episode we'll have something very interesting to talk about, which is the first creator contest, and the first place map that didn't make it into the game. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it though. Next week I'm considering having a discussion about the thumbnail revolution that's been going on recently, and grading as many styles of thumbnails as I can, but I'll only really do that if you people are interested in this. So hey, let me know in the comments below if you want that sort of video, or tell me on Discord, I don't know, I don't care, do what you want. Either way, next episode we'll be covering a special map. See you then. Cheers, folks.